As Election Day nears in the United States, presidential candidates know that winning the support of young people could get them over the finish line in the race for the White House. But how does this new generation of American voters feel about those candidates and their policies? People in Power travel through 3 crucial US states to speak to Gen Z voters and find out what matters as they prepare to cast their ballots.
It's the second game of the season for the Arizona Wildcats. Outside the stadium, thousands of locals, students and their families are gathering. Huge tailgate parties are part of American college football tradition, and the University of Arizona is firing up the grill and having a ball. Amidst the hoopla, Republicans try to focus festive minds on politics.
You know, we're all about, getting young people to vote, getting young Republicans out to vote,
For you, the economy is more important than anything else.
Yes. And that's why we'll be voting for Donald Trump here in November.
Next month, almost 41 million members of Gen Z will be eligible to vote. Are you guys going to vote in November in the president?
Yeah.
You definitely are?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Definitely?
Yeah.
For sure?
Yeah, registered to vote and everything.
Are you going to vote in November?
I haven't decided yet.
8 million voters have come of age since the 2022 midterms. Recruiting these young Americans will be crucial for whoever wins the White House. So have you decided who you're going to vote for?
Honestly, no.
Ultimately, it'll come down to the last minute of who I vote for. I'm really not sure.
Do you know who you're going to vote for?
I do know. Yeah, I do.
And?
I mean, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Kamala. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Kamala or
Kamala Harris.
Kamala?
I think it's Kamala.
Kamala. Okay, yeah.
I'm voting for Trump.
No doubt?
No doubt. He's just a great guy. He got shot in the ear and bounced back and became better. And I feel like that's what I need as a president.
Kamala?
Definitely Kamala?
Yeah.
No doubt?
No doubt. I just don't like Trump, so.
He built the wall.
Did he get it done?
He's gonna do it done again.
Yeah?
They had to stop because dumb Joe.
I'm travelling through 3 of the most electorally important states, asking young people what they care about.
They need to make sure that we are prioritizing keeping our planet healthy, clean, safe. They also need to find a way to do that within having an economy that runs well.
Taxes.
Taxes. So you want taxes?
They take my paycheck. Yeah.
I'm from Mexican. I'm a Mexican descendant as well. But you got to understand, we can't just keep the door open for people.
This is what the election for Gen Z comes down to. Girls that are pro-Roe and guys that are pro-bread. Pro-bread being in making money.
Where do you get your news from?
A lot of it's from TikTok. I don't really watch the news. I kind of just I don't know, I guess TikTok, I don't know.
So here's a TikTok summary of the election campaign so far.
The total initiative.
First, Biden totally messed up.
I don't think he knows what he said either.
Then someone almost killed Trump. Then Harris stepped up.
I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
Mr. President, the world's dying to know, is it boxers or briefs?
Getting down with the kids hasn't always come naturally to presidential hopefuls. Bill Clinton gave it a shot on MTV.
Usually briefs.
Hillary Clinton had a go on The Ellen Show. This campaign, though, it's essential. Communicating with young voters is a core part of both parties' election strategies.
I check it once, then I check it twice.
From the TikTokosphere of Kamala Harris brat summer memes
She's not that smart.
No, she's not smart.
to the right-wing bro influencers keen on Donald Trump.
Elon Musk.
Smart.
Joe Biden.
Dumb.
When we talk about Gen Z, Who are we talking about?
Those born in 1996 on, young people under the age of 30. They use social media, which is no surprise. But that doesn't mean they don't fact check.
What defines them?
Things like gay rights and drug policy are influential. Abortion is obviously a huge issue. And we've seen protest movements around Gaza and international policies. The youngest men are more socially conservative than the youngest women. They're going to be very influenced by inflation. They're going to see prices rise.
They're a bit unpredictable. 80% of them are dissatisfied with the two parties. They're distinctly independent. Nationally, 52% of Gen Z voters are not part of the two parties.
If young people are floating voters, that makes them very valuable, doesn't it?
It does. It makes them more likely to potentially switch between the parties. They're also more likely to be third-party voters, but they also are the least likely to actually show up.
A land of cacti and canyons and crazy temperatures. Arizona is also one of the most tightly contested states in the whole country. It went Trump in 2016, but just tipped for Biden in 2020. So every vote here counts.
So today we're just going to do voter registration. So we're shooting to register as many NAU students as possible.
Up in Flagstaff, home of Northern Arizona University, 24-year-old Haley Crichton is leading a campus voter registration drive.
Cool, let's go. Hi. Good morning, how's your day going?
In the 2022 midterms, Gen Z made up 18% of Arizona's registered voters, but only 10% of ballots actually cast.
Would you like to be registered at this address? Because you can. No? Not interested? All right, no worries.
Would you like to get updated real quick? It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to get all set up. No, thank you, I'm good.
My name's Haley, this is Kyle. I'm actually a local candidate in your area.
Voters aged 18 to 30 may be a crucial demographic, but relying on them can be risky.
I think sometimes students are just very apathetic. We don't necessarily feel like people represent us in this government. We don't necessarily feel like our vote matters, our vote is heard. Yeah, so that can be kind of a bummer sometimes.
When Biden dropped out and Harris came in, the tides changed.
Yeah, I think so. There were just a lot more people excited on the left, excited to vote. I think a lot of young people felt that way.
Have you got a prediction?
I'm thinking it's going to turn Harris. I really am. I don't know if that's, wishful thinking. I don't know. Gen Z and the millennials are the biggest voting bloc in American history right now. So the fact that a lot of young people are excited to vote now is amazing.
So you're saying Gen Z has power?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Gen Z realizes that it has power?
I don't know. I think that is one of the issues. I think Gen Z, like I said, feels some of that apathy, and it's maybe like, well, my vote doesn't matter. I don't think they realize how scared other generations are of us right now.
This looks likely to be the most gendered election ever. Put crudely, it's girls versus boys. Gen Z women favour Harris by 38 points. Gen Z men favour Trump by 13 points.
I think my buddy who's a plumber is going to benefit under President Trump's administration a lot more with tax cuts and just policies that are for the working man. And that's why a lot of the younger generation of males are moving that way, or a lot of the generation of younger females are moving towards the left because of social issues.
Is the economy the primary issue in this election?
I think that the economy is the #1 issue to most voters in this country, whether they say it's their #1 hot button issue, because every issue draws back to the economy in the United States.
Does immigration matter to you?
Absolutely.
So what immigration policies would you like to see?
Say no illegal immigration would be #1. There has to be a crackdown on the border.
Research suggests immigration actually galvanizes fewer young voters than many other issues, even in border states like Arizona. But Carson is spot on that the economy is the big one, and that is a challenge for the Democrats. Everyday costs soared under Joe Biden. The roots predate his presidency, but Republicans blame him anyway. Winning the economic argument will be crucial for victory in November, especially in Michigan. Another battleground state, and one that's seen the best and the worst of American capitalism. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Rory, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for joining us in my district.
So what are we doing?
So we're knocking on some doors.
Jasper Martis is a young Democrat foot soldier on the front lines of this battle for hearts and minds.
So a couple of things you got to remember when you're knocking in my community. If you're looking a little bit on the younger side like me, you got to wear pants, you can't wear shorts. I wore shorts one day in my campaign and was called a little boy more often than any times in my life.
How easy is it for Kamala to win the White House without winning Michigan?
She can't win without Michigan. Of all the states that are competitive this year, I think Michigan looks the best. Hey, how are you?
The city of Flint has been through decades of deindustrialization and collapsing services, the sort of place young people tend to get out of.
I don't know if you remember me. I'm Jasper. I'm your state representative.
How do you feel about having such a young representative?
Oh, thank you.
That says it all, right?
I haven't told you this, but I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay, all right.
When I saw him willing to give of his time, his energy, and his life, just wonderful.
Well, thank you.
I'm just thankful.
I'm thankful for you, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to say more?
No, that says it all.
Well, thank you. Love you very much.
I love you very much, too. And if it's
in a city that can feel like its glory days are gone, Jasper is proof that young people are still invested here. But I want to hear more about how he sees the Democrats' relationship with younger voters. Let's get down to brass tacks. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Does that make you the youngest state representative?
So there's actually another gentleman who beats me by about 5 weeks, although he looks much older than me. But between the two of us, we're two of the youngest state reps in Michigan history.
How do you think Kamala Harris is doing in appealing to young voters?
She's talking about issues that young people care about, whether it's combating climate change, protecting reproductive rights, investing here in Michigan or in the Midwest. When we reinvest here, we're helping out our neighbors with jobs, but we're also addressing that longer-term cause of inflation. So that's as important to young people of fighting for a just and fair economy as is any other issue.
You're a young white guy, you're a Democrat. A lot of other young white guys are really into Donald Trump, though. So how do you explain that?
There's this feeling maybe things are too woke, maybe other groups are doing better at the expense of us. That may not be true, but that's how a lot of people feel.
So what can you do to try and turn other young white guys away from Donald Trump and the Republicans?
I think that there's this problem, and I think the Biden administration has done a good job of countering it, but you saw a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party who were absolutely brilliant, very, very well educated, talking in ways that really spoke down to a lot of communities.
Does that mean easing back on policies that might be perceived as being too progressive, too woke, for want of a better word?
I don't think it's at all policies, it's the way that we talk about them.
But for some young voters, it is the policies that are the problem. Dearborn, two different manifestations of the American dream. It's the home and manufacturing heart of Ford Motors. But Dearborn is also the United States' first Arab-majority city. People have come here from all over the Arab world to make America their home. This is where the uncommitted movement started. It's now a nationwide protest campaign urging people not to vote for either main party unless the US changes course on Israel and Gaza. But it's the Democrats who've been caught in the headlights here. The groups most outraged by US support for Israel, Arab and Muslim Americans, young voters, progressives, are ones that usually lean Democrat. Adam Abu Saleh worked on Joe Biden's 2020 campaign before Uncommitted, but that feels a long time ago.
If you were to ask me if I were going to vote for Joe Biden, my answer was no. Am I going to vote for Kamala Harris? That's not something that I know yet, but I will tell you that it's not looking good.
So what is it that Kamala Harris would have to say between now and the election to secure your vote and other Arab American votes?
Our demands from day one have been very clear. We want a permanent ceasefire now. We want to talk about an arms embargo now. We want to talk about conditioning aid to Israel now. If she is going to continue with the same stances that Biden has taken since October, then she's going to lose Arab American voters, Muslim voters, and she's going to lose a lot of young voters.
Do you think that you are getting solidarity from other young Americans of all ethnicities?
Absolutely. I don't like to talk about this as an Arab American issue or as a Muslim issue. I like to talk about this as a humanitarian issue. If you go to protest, just a few miles away from here in Ann Arbor, you will see that they're being led by Jewish Americans. If you go to protest in Detroit, just a few miles away from here, you'll see that they are being led by Black Americans.
But if Arab Americans withhold their vote from the Democrats and Trump gets into the White House, how would you feel about that?
Right now, I don't know who's a bigger threat to democracy. Is it Donald Trump, who talked about a stolen election, or is it Kamala Harris, who's not listening to the people?
If all uncommitted voters shun the Democrats on Election Day, it's feasible they'll lose Michigan and with it the presidency. But if Gaza anger is working against the Democrats, anger on another issue is working against the Republicans. And we see it firsthand in Ann Arbor.
Hi, how are you? Doing well. If you would put your first, last name, cell, and zip on this and sign, we'll send you all your polling information as well as down ballots as well.
Women, particularly young ones, are registering to vote in their droves.
Okay, if I could ask the three of you to sign one of our pledges to vote, letting us know what issues matter to you. Yeah, thanks for voting. That's very typical. So we're seeing large groups of women walking around together, and when one person stops, the rest of the group is like, oh yeah, I have to do that as well.
Why? Why do you think so many young women are coming?
Reproductive rights is a major issue in this country. These young women are saying, my grandmother fought for this. Are you kidding me? I can't believe that I have to fight for the same fight my grandma fought.
So you think they might be scared about what's coming down the track?
I think it's less fear. I think people are pissed off, if I'm honest with you.
And if there's one place where reproductive rights and freedoms are centre stage, it's Florida. After the conservative-leaning US Supreme Court overturns the constitutional right to an abortion in 2022, Florida's Republican governor enacted one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country.
Will you fight back for your freedom? Will you fight back to get the respect we deserve? When we fight!
But pro-choice supporters have rallied. On the same day as the presidential election, Floridians also vote on Amendment 4, which would enshrine access to abortion in the state constitution.
There are Democrats who think that the Florida abortion referendum works in their favor, that it'll bring more voters to the polls on November the 5th and might well bring the state back into play for the Democrats.
Her body, her choice, and I truly believe that, and I stand by that now. It's not just a women's issue, it's also a men issue, and that's something that we recognize. So we just want Gen Z, myself, we want other men and men to come to stand up because it's a fundamental right that needs to be upheld.
So do you think that on November the 5th there is a chance that Florida could swing blue?
Yes, I truly believe that's possible. I truly believe. Look at the people that are here. Look at our elected officials that are coming out, like all these people. We have the elderly, we have Gen Z, we have some of everybody who are out here. So if they're coming out now, I can only imagine what's going to happen November 5th.
Florida hasn't voted Democrat in a presidential election since 2012, though, so many still think it's outside their reach. But on the other side of the abortion debate, there are genuine concerns.
If we lose on Amendment 4, if Harris gets into the presidential seat, this is the end for the pro-life generation in Florida. Kamala Harris has announced that she will sign a national bill that will codify Roe v. Wade again.
Now, it seems, according to the polling, that you've got an uphill struggle because most Floridians seem to be against your point of view, right?
I'm very optimistic that we will win, and I'm religious, so I am praying for that every day. But definitely we are concerned. We are preparing for the worst because logistically we do have a big opposition.
Tonight, the high-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump.
In downtown Miami, young people watched the debate at a gathering of Black and Latino progressives.
The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Like a prize fight audience, they cheer as the blows land. These aren't necessarily Harris supporters. Many favour third-party candidates. But they're liking what she's saying.
You know, like two boxers. Like, the one who landed more punches, they win the fight. So she's really, like, landing more punches than Trump is landing.
Based off of this debate alone, I think Kamala's going to win because she just made a lot more relevant points.
In your view, what's she been strongest on? What issues?
I think she's doing a really great job standing up for women's rights.
Why do you think the youth vote matters for democracy in America?
The youth are shaping the future. The youth will be the next people in the chair.
Almost as soon as the debate was over, the biggest pop star in the world endorsed Kamala Harris with a social media post. Such is Taylor Swift's reach, 284 million followers on Instagram alone, that the effect was instant and seismic.
Well, right after she sent that post, over hundreds of thousands of people went onto the vote.org page.
So when you saw that, did you do a little jump for joy? What was your reaction?
I was excited. I love that she posted a photo with a cat and playing on the childless cat ladies. We have our earbuds plugged in all the time to Spotify, and when we see our favorite musicians saying, hey, you can check your voter registration, enroll and vote by mail, and make a plan to vote early on vote.org or on any other website, it's going to drive clicks.
I'm speaking to Sophia at an event her organisation is running in a Miami bar. People are writing picture postcards to first-time voters, encouraging them to turn up. It seems charmingly old-fashioned, and maybe that's entirely the point. But this is a far cry from how Gen Zers communicate.
There's often a lot of criticism in the United States and maybe other countries that social media doesn't impact anything at all. Everything about this election is proving the opposite. People receive information from social media. We listen to celebrities. We listen to people of influence. We listen to what articles get posted and reshared on social media. And so it has everything to do with voter turnout. And I think especially with Gen Z, we want to turn our social media habits into action on November 5th.
And yet, for all this progressive idealism, it's sometimes easy to forget that this isn't the life many young Americans are living. On my last night in Miami, I go for a burger. And I meet Eric, who puts in 100-hour weeks over a hot griddle.
First of all, that was one of the best burgers I've ever eaten.
Thank you, bro.
How do you do it?
Just make it with love and passion, man. That's the best ingredients that we can give you.
Tell me a bit about yourself, where you're from, what you've been doing in your life, that sort of thing.
From Miami, man. I'm 30 years old. I got 3 kids and a wife. Just trying to make the best living that we can out here, you know, in these crazy times that we're living in. And I think we had some of the best times when we had Trump in office, you know, financially, stability, you know, the economy, everyone around us, is struggling. And I think we're in a silent depression right now.
So what's the answer to that? Do you think Trump should come back?
I think we should have Trump back in office because if he did it one time, why not? Why couldn't he do it again?
So do you see yourself as a conservative guy?
Whatever somebody's preference is fine. You know, I'm definitely not against it. You know, everyone falls in love different ways, and it's more about pushing the agenda on the children. What you do behind closed doors is totally fine, but when you're, especially that I have children as a father, you're trying to, you know, put that on my kids that don't know any better. Yeah. You know, I think that's wrong.
If Harris does win in November, will you be upset? What do you think you'll do about it?
No, I'm probably gonna load up in a bunch more ammunition and get a little bit more prepared than we already are, man, because I definitely think World War III will definitely come.
Emotions, it's safe to say, are running high as November approaches. To make this film, we've travelled through 3 crucial states and spoken to dozens of young voters. We found some impressive, politically engaged people.
On lots of issues like Gaza, the climate, democratic and reproductive freedoms, they lean progressive. But many, particularly the guys, are worried about the pace of social change and their say in it. Often, young people don't like the two-party system. They want a broader choice. But foremost on the majority of minds is just how expensive living has become.
The candidate who speaks best to these hopes and fears will win the youth vote, and with it possibly the White House. Young people see this as an existential election. The future depends on it. And that future is theirs.